Welcome to the Chapter 2 of the Bhagavad-Gita, Section 2, Knowledge of the Spirit Soul. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Raghava Swaminiti Namine. Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharini. The second chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita, Section 2, Knowledge of the Spirit Soul. Shlokas 11 to 30 deal with Jnana. Jnana means knowledge. Knowledge means knowledge of the Spirit Soul, that is called Gyan. Krishna explains to Arjuna that nobody dies because everybody is a spirit soul, and because everybody is a spirit soul, there is no death. The body dies, it is natural, but then the soul regains and comes back with a new body, a fresher body. So Krishna explains that spirit soul never dies and lives forever. So here, knowledge means to understand three things: matter, spirit, and the controller of both. So one who understands these three categories, that is matter, this material world, spirit, the spirit soul, and controller of both, that is Krishna, he becomes liberated. So understanding this spiritual knowledge is the prime goal and necessity of human life. Krishna begins by chastising Arjuna. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashochanan Prajnavadamsya Bhashase Gatasuna Gatasumscha Nanushochanti Panditaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. So Krishna is calling Arjuna a fool because he based his existence on the body, and is completely wrong. One who thinks he is a big scholar by academic education without understanding the spirit soul is certainly a fool. If by education, by Gyan, by knowledge we are not able to understand the goal of life, then our education is a big waste, is as good as animalistic education used to just make a living, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Therefore, one who wants to make a real solution to his problems of life, he should take up spiritual life, take to spiritual knowledge. Nanu shochanti panditaha. So pandita is one who knows the spiritual knowledge and one who does not lament in this material world. Krishna then explains that every soul is an individual undergoing individual cycles of birth and death. Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadhipaha nachaivana bhavishyamaha sarve vayam atah param. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So Krishna explains that none of them are actually going to die. Everybody is going to live forever. All living entities are eternal and continue their individuality in future without interruption. So there is no lamentation for death. Every individual is a spirit soul and continues to live after death. And everybody is individual, not that after you get liberated, all spirit soul becomes one. No. After you get liberated, every spirit soul goes to the spiritual world as an individual. So, the pains and pleasures that I experience are experienced by me only. Nobody else can experience my pain and my pleasures. I am conscious of my body only. I am not conscious of anybody else's body. I am conscious of only my body. So that is why the consciousness of one spirit soul spreads within the body that it occupies. So every spirit soul within every individual has a sphere of influence. That's why Krishna says that everybody is an individual spirit soul and they continue to exist eternally as individuals. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhirastatra namuhyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes to another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So we are all born, we grow, we dwindle, and then we die. And then the soul takes a new body. So we are spirit souls undergoing change of material bodies. Kaumara, Yauvana and Jara. Childhood, youth and old age. So dhirastatra namuhyati, the word dhira means one who is not bewildered by such a change. You become an observer of your own body, of your own self. So being an observer means to have a look at yourself from outside. So if you observe, this body is itself passing through. It is eating food, it is doing everything, but the soul actually does nothing. The body goes through all these changes and then it will eventually die. Now that you are the spirit soul, what should you do? So Krishna says, we have to overcome bodily perceptions. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shetoshna sukha dukkhada agama paino nityas tam stitikshasva bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception of skin of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Seasons come and go. As we see, there are 4 seasons. They come and go. One should learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Sometimes we are happy, sometimes we are not happy, sometimes we are disturbed, sometimes we are not disturbed. So this will continue. The soul will sometimes be happy. Rather, the body will be sometimes happy or not, depending on the situation of the mind. But the soul, as long as it is covered by the subtle body and the mind, due to false ego, it will think it is happy or sad. But actually the soul does not undergo any change. So the soul is called as kutastha. It is steady. So if one learns to tolerate material happiness and distress and becomes peaceful, his mind is totally controlled, then he is able to perceive the spirit soul. Yam hi navyatayante te purusham purusharshabha samadukha sukham dhiram samrutatvaya kalpate. O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is eligible for liberation. So one who does not become too overjoyed when he becomes happy. Suppose somebody wins the World Cup, the whole country celebrates. If they lose the match, the whole country is depressed. So this is called as too much of material anxiety. If one overcomes this anxiety, whether they win or they lose, whether they earn money as much as they want or not, but they are happy with simple living and tolerates the onslaught of happiness and distress, so such a person becomes eligible for liberation. So liberation means freedom from the shackles of birth and death. So when Lord Vishnu is pleased with us, he will personally come to pick us up from the ocean of birth and death. So we can see this picture here. Everybody is struggling in this ocean of birth and death, taking births and deaths. birth and death in different species of life. And when we are eligible for liberation, Lord Vishnu personally comes. He is within our heart and He is always observing us. He can liberate us from this cycle of birth. The body is temporary, but the soul is permanent. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah, ubhayorapi drishnantastu anayos tattvadarshibhi. So those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. The rishis studied the body and the soul, and they found that the body does not endure. The body dies in the due course of time, but the soul remains eternal. Tattvadarshibihi means those who have seen the truth, those who have realized the soul, they say so. So Krishna is not just giving his opinion, but giving the opinion of the previous rishis as well. So we are not this body, we are the spirit soul. The body is temporary and the soul is permanent. Soul can never be destroyed. Avinashitu tadvidhi yena sarvam idam tatam vinashayam avyayasyasya na kaschit kartum arhati. That which pervades the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. The soul can never be destroyed by any means. Consciousness or desire is a symptom of the soul, not matter. So Avinashi, that which cannot be destroyed, the soul can never be destroyed. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, soul can never be destroyed. How much ever you fight, you are grieving for the body will be destroyed, but the soul can never be destroyed. The soul is beyond death. The soul is spiritual in nature, permanent. The body is sure to come to an end anyway, so one should fight. Antavanta ime deha, anta means end. Nityasyoktaha sharirinaha, anashino aprameyasya, tasmad yudhyasva bharata. The soul is immeasurable, you cannot measure it by any material way. It is beyond your material thinking and material measurement. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore fight, O descendant of Bharata. The soul is untouched by any material action. Yayenam veti hantaram, yaschainam manyate hatam, ubhautau na vijanito, nayam hanti na hanyate. Neither he who thinks the living entity the slayer, neither he who thinks it is slain is in knowledge, for the self slays, nor is it slain. So what are the characteristics of the spirit soul? Na jayate mriyate va kadachin, nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyaha, ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano, na hanyate hanyamane sharire. For the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. The soul, when he enters this material world, he undergoes 84 lakh species of life. Jalaja Navalakshani, there are 900,000 species living in the water. Similarly, there are 2 million trees and plants. There are 1,100,000 species of insects and reptiles. There are 1 million species of birds. As far as quadrupeds are concerned, there are 3 million varieties and 400,000 human species. The soul undergoes these births, and even in the human category, there are many types. So it is said, if one is born in a spiritual family, then that is the highest birth. Otherwise, one can be born anywhere and live like an animal. So, spirit soul can take the body of an insect as well as that of an elephant, cow, lion, tiger, and many other birds. So it is wonderful that the same spirit soul goes through these different births, but the soul remains constant. It does not undergo any change. It does not undergo birth or death, nor does it undergo any change. He is unborn, means the soul is never created within the material realm of time. Time is a material conception. It exists only in the material world. In the spiritual world, there is no question of time. It is conspicuous by its absence. So that is why soul is never born. It is spiritual in nature. Only the body is born. And when the body dies, the soul goes to another body but never dies. The soul is untouched by material actions. Veda vinashinam nityam yayenam majam avyayam katam sa purushah partha kam ghatayati hantikam. Oh Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? So, body may act in many ways, but it does not affect the soul in any way. Nityam means eternal. So, the soul does not do anything. So, how can the soul kill the body? It is not possible. So, what is happening is material actions. And if you understand with the proper knowledge of the spirit soul, you understand that you are killing nothing. So there is no question of lamentation because the soul never dies. And who are you? You are spirit soul. So because you are the spirit soul, there is no cause of lamentation. You are not this body. You are the spirit soul. वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णान्य अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new bodies, giving up old and useless ones. You can see here this small spark called the spirit soul there, and the body is being torn apart. So when the body becomes old, the body becomes unusable, this body goes dead and the soul gets a new body. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam kledayantyapo, na shoshayati marutaha. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by wind. So Krishna says that any weapons that you may use, Arjuna, will not be able to touch the soul. The soul is untouched by matter. Achedyoyam adagyoyam akledyo shoshya evacha nitya sarvagata sthanur achaloyam sanadanaha. The individual soul is unbreakable, insoluble, can be neither burned nor dried, is everlasting, everywhere, unchangeable, immovable and eternally the same. So even if there is a nuclear bomb blast, the soul cannot be touched. Insoluble, it will not mix with anything. So it does not mix with matter. And can be neither burned nor dried. He is present everywhere, means we can see that even in the harshest of winters, polar bears and other living entities survive. So there is bacteria even in the cold wet weather, and even in the sun planet there is bacteria in such high temperatures. The soul can take on different bodies in different places. So the soul is everywhere. Even within our own body, there are hundreds and millions of bacteria, blood cells who are individual spirit souls. They take on single-celled, multi-celled bodies and go through their cycle of birth and death, finally coming to human body where they get a chance for self-realization. That is what Krishna is telling Arjuna, that human life is meant for dharma, for a higher spiritual purpose. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate tasmadenam viditvainam nanushochitum arhasi. So it is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. It is said that means it comes from the Shastras. So only from the Shastras or the scriptures we are able to understand what is the spirit soul. So, after hearing from the scriptures, we should try to understand the spirit soul, not by our own conclusions. And understanding the scriptures and understanding the knowledge of the spirit soul, one should not grieve for this body. So Krishna asks Arjuna to fight on the basis of this philosophy. Ata chainam nityajatam nityam va manyase mritam tathapi tvam mahabaho nainam shochitum arhasi. So Krishna tells Arjuna that even if you think that there is no soul and the body dies and all the body becomes chemicals and mixes with nature after death, still he has no reason to lament, because the body is going to die anyways. And if he thinks there is no soul, then the body will forget everything. So there is no question of lamentation. Therefore, Krishna tells him, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmad apariharyarthe natvam shochitum arhasi. One who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. So Krishna says, surely those who die on this battlefield, they will get a higher birth because they are fighting a kshatriya, dharmic reason here. So because of that, they will get new bodies. So Bhishma, Drona, whoever he is lamenting for, they will get new bodies. They are already old. So he should not lament for their body. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktam adhyani bharata avyakta nidhananyeva tatra ka paridevana. So Krishna says, before this birth they were unmanifest. They were in a different body. Now they are manifest with some body. And after death, they will be unmanifest again. They may go to some other body, some other world. So what is the need for lamentation? It is the cycle they are going through. You are not the reason. They are going through their own karma, their own bodily cycle. So then Krishna says, Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidenam ascharyavat vadati tadhaiva chanyaha ascharyavat chainam anyasranoti shrutvapi ena vedana chaiva kaschit. Some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. So this is called as the amazing shloka. So Krishna explains that some people understand about the spirit soul immediately. Some people, even after reading and understanding so much, they are not able to understand the spirit soul at all. So that is why the spirit soul is amazing in many ways. It is untouched by matter. So that the body undergoes so many changes and everything, the soul is untouched by that whole thing. So Krishna says, Dehi nityam avadyoyam dehe sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani natvam shochitum arhasi. O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in this body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being. So Krishna tells Arjuna that he who lives in this body can never be killed. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living entity. So, even if they die, they will get higher birth. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, do not lament. They are here for a higher purpose. And they are not going to die anyway, even otherwise, if you look at it, because they are spirit souls. And the spirit soul should do spiritual activity, then the soul gets liberated. And here, They are in Dharma Kshetra, in the land of Dharma, to do spiritual activity. That is of fighting, Kshatriya Dharma. So let them fight, do Dharma, liberate the soul. So let's summarize the characteristics of the spirit soul. The spirit soul is eternally an individual. He is infinitesimal and he is part and parcel of Krishna. The spirit soul is Anu, infinitesimal, and Krishna is Vibhu, infinite. The soul is unborn, indestructible, and eternal. But he is infinitesimal, that he is very, very small. You can see, if you see Krishna, he is the supreme spirit. Means the individual spirit souls are not even the tip of his hair. They are so infinitesimal, they are so small. And Krishna is an eternal infinite. The soul is so small or difficult to measure. So soul is immeasurable. So you cannot conceive. The soul, of course, has a spiritual personality. The soul never undergoes changes. The soul is steady. The soul never changes like matter, and soul never becomes God. Soul is always a servant of God. The soul cannot be cut, burnt, dried, or wet. The soul is immovable, unchangeable, everlasting, and eternally the same. The position of the soul is that it is situated in the region of the heart. The soul is present everywhere, even in the mountains, even in Himalayas, every water, everywhere. They are also present in sun and fire. How to perceive the soul? No human experiences, no material experiences, no microscope or telescope can be used to see the soul. But we are conscious. Our consciousness itself means there is spirit soul. Once the body becomes dead, there is no spirit soul. The only way to understand the spirit soul is from the Vedic scriptures. The influence of the soul pervades the entire body. Just like sun pervades the entire universe and maintains, similarly the soul maintains the material body. The material body has life because of the spirit soul. So just like you take a medicine and it spreads all over the body, the active principle of the medicine, so similarly consciousness spreads throughout the body. Soul is surrounded by 5 kinds of life airs, and by practicing Hatha Yoga, one can gain liberation by purifying those airs. That we will see in the 6th chapter. Hare Krishna. So we will end the 2nd chapter here. That is the section 2, and the section 3 of the 2nd chapter we will begin in the next video. Hare Krishna.